Great Seamus pick this week. And it's another one of those Seamus picks where before I had seen this movie, I hadn't even heard of it. And as soon as you introduced it to me, I was like, where has this been all my life?
Well, okay, so we're talking about A Mighty Wind by Christopher Guest.
So fucking nice.
So I hadn't seen it before we got it in North Bay and saw it for the first time.
Oh, okay.
We saw it for the first time together.
Did we?
Yeah.
I feel like you...
Came out in 2003.
No, I know, I saw that.
So by the time it's on DVD, it's 2004.
Yeah, that makes sense.
We're renting it from that fucking little weirdo.
It's right down, it's like across the street. It's
great,
perfect.
Great. Lovely lady who ran it
Lovely
too.
lady.
Oh my gosh. It's the second mockumentary we're talking about. After Guy Terrifico.
Yep. This one's definitely, for me, better. I love this movie.
Yeah, I'll say it's better. 2003, 87% critic approval, 75 audience, and 7.2 on IMDb.
Great film. Made
Mighty Wind.
18.7 million.
And nominated for Best Song at the Oscars.
Before we even start on this movie, I just want to say it's such a nice film.
It really is.
It's
really
a
is.
nice movie.
It is.
There's no ass play or fucking face removals.
There's no
or
villains.
Goblins.
There's no bad guys, right?
It's just nice.
It is nice.
Yeah.
Because even like the movie before this is Best in Show. Mm-hmm. And like the one couple, like the yuppie couple's kind of the villains almost. Like
they're dickish.
They're dicks.
They're
They're dicks, right? Whereas here, everyone's pretty nice.
Pretty nice.
Yeah.
And just the other thing I love about this film is it's this whole world that they've created around folk music and throwing this festival for this guy that passed away that was a big producer or something.
Yeah, he's a manager of all these bands. And so you're getting the Folksmen, the Main Street Singers, and Mick and Mitchie. Or Mitch and Mickey. Mitchie.
I like Mitchie. And the other thing is, too, so they're interviewing people that are in the folk music business. I mean, it's made up, of course, but they're interviewing, like, sound engineers and fans and stuff. And every interview that these guys do seems real.
Uh-huh.
Like, when I'm watching this movie, I'm watching a documentary about folk music, as far as I know.
Yeah, and all the folk bands are based on real folk bands.
Sure.
So the Folksmen are the Kingston Trio. The Main Street Singers are the New Christie Minstrels. And Mitch and Mickey are kind of like Sonny and Bono. Or Sonny and Cher, sorry.
Fucking up, man.
Jesus Christ.
Sonny and Cher.
Well, it's a male and female singer.
They were in love,
right?
I guess.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Just a fucking great cast.
Great cast. Look at it. Eugene Levy.
Christopher Guest.
Catherine O'Hare.
Oh,
Harry
she's
Shearer.
so good. Jane Lynch. Now, she's not a huge part of the movie, but I love her part because she's such a weird character. She's part of the Main Street Singers.
Right.
But she definitely did porn at one point.
Yeah.
But she never
In her
said
60s.
she did porn. But
No, she did some adult film and winks at the camera.
Yeah, and she's like, I was the only girl that could do one particular type of scene. Wink.
What did you when you heard that, what did you think it was?
DVDA, baby. That's it. I also wrote perfect length.
Oh, I wrote
film.
concise. Yeah.
Yes.
There's
No wasted time.
Here, speaking of Jane Lynch, my one part that if I'm nitpicking, Jane Lynch and her husband are into this weird cult that she created.
Yeah, about colors and shit.
They worship colors.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work for me. It's a little too zany for everything else in the movie, for me.
They could have cut that. Yeah.
Or just toned it down.
But we're nitpicking. Because, again, it's a perfect runtime.
Oh, yeah, but if they cut that down, it's too short.
Exactly.
So they're adding it almost, which I think they just should have... I don't mind them being in a cult, but then it's too weird of a cult. Does that make sense?
It is. But I like the Main Street Singers. There's a scene where they're in the practice room, and they're all in their street clothes, and they have a new guy who's in their, I don't know, their performance costume.
Yeah.
And it's like kind of smelly.
Their outfit.
He's just like, I'm just not comfortable right now because he's not hitting the note properly. And who's the guy? John Michael Higgins.
Yeah, he's in Best in Show as well.
They're all in
He's
the
the
same
asshole
movies, right?
character in Best in Show, yeah.
And holy fuck. He's just rising. He's like, look, once you get more experience and you do better and you hit your cues, you can be in your street clothes like everybody else. So just keep plugging away, little buddy. Like, it's like he's not outwardly an asshole to him.
Right.
But it's just those little subtleties in this movie that just makes, at least for me, makes me believe that's a real guy. That guy leads that whole band and he's telling this rookie, Just keep going, get your shit together.
And a thing like the Main Street Singers, which I said the new Christy Minstrels, it's like a rotating cast of musicians. So the new Christy Minstrels, like Kenny Rogers was in the band for a bit, just like in the back, like backup singing, playing guitar. Yeah, and he would learn so much and tour, and then move on. And like, so it's a constant rotating kind of band, right? Because that leads us to the manager of the Main Street Singers, played by the late Fred Willard. And
Fred Willard is in both this and Best in Show.
Everything he says is funny. Yeah, in both of them.
You can't not laugh.
So he plays this like failed actor at a season of a hit TV show.
There's like a half season in the 70s or something.
Which I prefer because that gets a cult following. Yeah. And it always is like a catchphrase kind of sitcom. Like,
what happened?
I don't think so.
Anytime something would go wrong, I would always say, what happened?
Which then fucking that idiot from The Edge radio station took.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. Cocksucker.
So there was a guy, I forget his fucking name, actually. He got fired.
That was a Toronto radio station, too, wasn't it?
Yeah. So he always said, what happened? I was like, that's fucking Mighty Wind. And no one, not a popular movie.
It had its fans.
Yeah, right. But, yeah, man.
And there is some just comedy gold in that. I sometimes wish I didn't watch this so long ago because I wrote a part down, but what are they talking about? They're talking about some group that had a business, or they started a business and it was called the Three Wise Men Sex Emporium.
Oh, I don't remember that part.
I just fucking laughed when I saw that come up on screen. Three Wise Men Sex Emporium. That's great. Yeah, every story that's told just seems so honest and real.
Well, the folksmen too are just like so boring
that they're my favorite. I wrote like, so what's your favorite band?
Well, how? What do you mean? Like
not song, because that's a different one.
Yeah, the folksmen then.
They just cut me up.
Well, it's also because the folksmen are Spinal Tap.
Yes, yeah.
And so back in the day, you probably read this on trivia, the folksmen used to open up for Spinal Tap at concerts.
Yeah, I did read that.
So like the folksmen would come out, people would fucking boo them,
yeah,
not knowing it's the same people.
It's the same guys.
It's the same guys as Spinal Tap.
Same fucking guys.
And then they come out of
and everybody goes nuts.
That's comedy gold. That's to genius. Know that you're going to get fucking booed.
But that's part of your shtick, but nobody gets it.
No one gets it? That's such
like comedy on some kind of like existential realm that I can't even understand.
So good. And they're so funny and because they're so mundane. And they get along. They're like, oh, we haven't seen each other in a while, but like they're still friends. Like
when they're driving to this big concert, right? And the one dude, I guess who's played by
Michael McKean.
Thank you, Michael McKean. He's not Michael McKean. He's the lead singer.
Christopher Guest.
Yeah. Christopher Guest is driving, and they're like, well, don't we have a map? Like, do we know where life is? Like, well, I have a map at home. And Christopher Guest like, so what? You were gonna study it academically? Yeah. It seemed like they have like that. That's an honest friendship. That those three guys
they're just
have.
razzing each other. They're
just busting balls, right?
And like later on, so the Main Street Singers open up this folk concert that's being played on PBS, essentially, like whatever, PBN, I think they call it. But like Main Street Singers play a folk traditional song like Wanderer.
That's one of my favorite songs too of the movie.
And the folks were like, fuck, like that's one of our songs that we play all the time.
Yeah.
You're like, oh shit, that sucks. Like
it does. You feel for them, right?
Yeah, it feels for them. Like they're real people, right?
I don't know, man. It's just
movie. I like the folksman, but I think Mitch is probably my favorite character.
Well, the character played by Eugene Levy, Mitch and Mickey were like the darlings of the folk music world because they were in love. And the funny thing is too, and obviously this is done purposely, is that the Mitch character is such a fucking weirdo. Like he doesn't even talk normally, but his singing voice is beautiful.
So
you got something.
There's a few older hippies from like that era that I know that are still kind of hippie-ish today, and I fucking swear they talk like that.
Like how he actually talks.
Just kind of like just talks like the monotone. He's listening.
It's kind of halting too.
Yeah,
that's weird.
After we get off air, I will tell you who I'm exactly thinking of.
Okay.
But yeah, man, like I know people. I've met people like him. And it's a mix between too much drugs years ago and then years and years of therapy.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
I want to give a shout out to a person in this cast who's a major part of the movie, but I don't think gets
Parker
much love.
Posey.
No, we'll get to Parker. He settled down about Parker.
Bob Balaban?
Bob Balaban.
What a dickhole.
No, he's so fucking great.
Dude.
He plays Jonathan Steinblum, and it's his dad that was the big folk legend, like manager, producer, organizer, whatever. And he dies, and Bob, or I guess Jonathan, wants to put on a concert in his memory.
Right.
Beautiful idea in New York City. And they find a place to do it. They find a venue. And before the show starts, Bob, who's like the theater promoter, is going around with the guy that runs the theater, which would almost be kind of like your position at the Opera House.
That's why I don't like this character.
That's why I love it. Because Bob's going around and he's critiquing how unsafe different areas of the theater are. Particularly, there's a plant. And he's like, there's a lot of loose leaves. Like, what if I'm worried that someone in a walker could come and get tangled up and fall down. We have a lot of old people in the audience.
They're unloading the microphones. It's like, yeah, those microphone stands, they don't have their tops. They don't have microphones on. Like, yeah, we'll put them on. Yeah. He gets on the stage and he's like, this banjo, this like prop banjo is like, it's two-dimensional, but this lamppost is real. It's three-dimensional. Do you think that'll confuse people?
And how come there's nothing on the back of the banjo that's facing the back? Well, you wouldn't see that from the crowd. But, there's nothing back here, though.
And he finally
There's not supposed to be. Fuck. He's like, do you know how a theater works?
No, obviously this is an extreme, but I've met that guy.
I know. That's what makes me laugh, because I'm like, man, I bet Seamus would want to slap a few people.
It was just bothering me.
I think we've broached this subject before, but Catherine O'Hara's character, Mickey,
who I've worked with, no big deal.
Yeah,
whatever.
I've met her. She came into the store and I sold her shoes with her.
Lovely lady.
Lovely lady. Yeah. She has moved on from the Mitch days and is now married to an English fella.
Who's into model trains.
And it's fucking great.
One of my favorite lines in the movie. So he takes Mitch, he's like, why don't you show Mitch your model trains?
Yeah.
So he's showing the model trains and whatever. It's this little town. And he's pretty passionate about it. Mitch goes, well, thank God for model trains. Otherwise, we wouldn't have gotten the idea for the real ones.
It's fucking good. And he's just so into it, too. Like, this guy's showing him, he's like, I would love to see, I forget what the name of the fictional train town was called. He's like, I'd love to see it in the fall. You could imagine all the colors.
Yeah, I'd love to see it in the fall. The colors would be magnificent.
You do a good impression.
I know.
That's pretty solid.
I know. Dude, I've hung out with the guy who talks like this.
You know those guys. Yeah.
Also, Mitch's solo career. So Mitch and Mickey break up roughly, and it's just a bad scene. But Mitch goes on to do more music, and he releases an album called Cry for Help.
Yeah. He's in like a straight jacket on the cover.
Like songs are like Calling It Quits, If I Only Had a Gun.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
And again, at no point of this film, other than the color cult thing, am I aware that this is a fictional?
Yeah, I mean, for me, Eugene Levy, he's just such a big celebrity almost. Everyone else is not as... To me, because even at this time, he's in the fucking American Pie movies, right? He's the biggest celebrity.
Nobody watched those.
He's the biggest celebrity in this movie. At the time.
Yes. I would even still say...
Now, Catherine O'Hara in Schitt's Creek is so popular, though, right?
Well,
so
he's also in that.
I know, but I'm saying, you would put them together, I'd say, nowadays. But,
for sure.
Oh, man.
All right, let's talk about Parker Posey. I know you want to.
Oh, she's just such a babe.
She's barely in this.
I know.
I thought she was in it more. I think she's in Best in Show quite a bit more, right?
She's a big character in Best in Show. But no, she's like a runaway that they take in.
Yeah, the Main Street
brainwashed
singers.
Or whatever.
Whatever. She's good.
Great.
The other thing is, too, apparently, so Eugene, John Michael Higgins, and the Folksman guys, they all wrote their songs and played instruments.
They played instruments. Michael McKean wrote most of the songs.
Yeah, with that John Michael Higgins guy, the leader of the Main Street Singers.
Yeah.
He wrote a lot of them, too.
They sang all their songs.
That's fucking impressive.
It's especially impressive, Mitch and Mickey, their song, which is Oscar-nominated, Kiss at the End of the Rainbow.
That's my favorite song.
How can't it be?
I know, right?
And they sing that song.
I didn't want it to be. When I put this movie on, I made my little box that says favorite song, favorite band. Folksman, favorite band right away, because I just fucking love those guys. I didn't want it to be Kiss at the End of the Rainbow, because I was like, of course that's probably supposed to be the best one. But I'm really watching it. And then I was like, oh, I like this song. I love Never Been a Wanderer. But then I watch him perform.
A night and maiden fell.
It's lovely.
There's a kiss at the end
I'm gonna
of
start crying.
the rainbow, more precious than a pot of gold.
And then, it's beautiful. And then they kiss.
Dude,
I've
seen this movie, I'll say 10 times.
Sure.
Every time. The whole thing is, so this song, Kiss at the End of the Rainbow, when they kind of, towards the end of the song, they say Kiss at the End of the Rainbow, and then they kiss.
That's what they did back in the 60s and shit.
And it was just such like an iconic folk moment for people. And so here we are all these years later, and they're split up. And they're not, I don't think either of them really want to get back together. They still love each other in their own way. And they kiss on this. And they're playing the song, all of a sudden, all the people backstage come to the sides of the stage.
Oh, isn't that the song where they kiss at the end?
Shit.
What are they going to do?
Right? And they come out and they kiss. And every single fucking time, I'm getting... It doesn't make me cry, but it just makes me tear up, man.
For sure.
It's so
Even
beautiful.
The people in the movie watching it are tearing up. And it's a part of the fucking movie.
And this is before Mitch goes missing because he has to get a rose.
The perfect rose for Mickey. Not just a rose. Yeah. It's got to be the right one.
I had to find the perfect rose.
He's got such a beautiful singing voice, Eugene. My goodness.
Very white movie.
It is a white movie.
They put one black guy in backstage at one point, and that's it.
Do they?
There's a kind of old blues guy sitting back there.
Sure.
There's one black guy. I mean, granted, folk music was a pretty white scene back in the day, but...
If it was a movie about 90s hip-hop bands, then maybe I'd expect more black people. But, that's just, I guess, the way it is.
So your fave song's Kiss at the End of the Rainbow?
I didn't want it to be.
Yeah.
I didn't want it to be. But it makes me so emotional. How can it not?
There's, you can YouTube it. It's them playing it at the Oscars. Because all the nominated songs, they have to play the song at the Oscars, right? So it's Eugene Levy and Catherine O'Hara. And Eugene Levy just goes, give it up for the drummer. And there's no drummer because it's just folks. I'm just oh. So a whole crowd just fucking loses it. And they play this beautiful song.
Aww. So yeah, great pick. Great fucking movie.
Great movie, man.
If you haven't seen it, you just feel like a nice movie.
Yeah, I'm going to say Best in Show's funnier. But this is a more grounded movie, I guess.
It seems more real.
It's more real.
Yeah, there was a guy in Best in Show, Eugene Levy, that had 2 left feet. Seems a little implausible. Seems a little implausible. But nothing about this movie seems unrealistic. Maybe the color cult.
Yeah.
Maybe that. But other than that,
that's why it just stands out so much to me. It's oh fuck, you're with all these real people, and then all of a sudden it's
a color cult.
A color cult that she created.
Yeah, that they smell color. Or, I barely remember.
Colors.
I think I kind of went to get a drink and a piss at that scene, but either way.
I don't know if you picked it up, but there's a scene in Catering with Jane Lynch after she plays, and she's just she has 2 pounds of spaghetti on her plate. She's just
no, I didn't. I didn't catch that.
I don't know. That was pretty funny.
Oh shit! So multi-layered. I missed that.
Mighty Wind.
Fuck! Please watch it.
I would put this S tier for me.
Oh yeah. It's perfect.
Yeah, all right.
What are you gonna change?
Fuck Bob Balahan.
Yeah. No. Plus, he's great in Seinfeld.
Oh, what was he playing in Seinfeld?
He played Russell Dalrymple, the head of NBC, that wanted to
go ahead with the... and then the daughter and stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I got you.
George gets caught looking at her Hooters.
Cool. I forgot about that.
So yeah, there you go.
That's cool. Mighty Wind.